goodness. Big move Monday. Look out. A way to end the tournament.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Quad Pod, sponsored by Poseidon Strength and Adidas Wrestling. Make sure you use our discount codes. All that info is below. This is episode 30. Yes, it is the Terrell Davis episode, as most people alluded to in the comments. I know I said that I bet you can't guess, mostly because I was going to say my favorite running back to ever wear 30 is my brother, Justin Holmes. However, we are going to go with Terrell Davis. Always good to be here with Robbie, Austin, Kevin. I am Holmes. Make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe button. You guys have been commenting like crazy lately, and we love it. Keep joining in on the fun, and we'll keep bringing the takes, the stupidity, and the movie quotes. And we had even more action to talk about this weekend, and it came in the form of national duels, which was amazing. But obviously, before we jump into everything that went down last weekend, we got to do our weigh in. And honestly, it's hard to deviate from national duels as a whole when it comes to the weigh in. So I'm honestly going to steer right into it and just say that every single team that participated at national duels deserves a shout out because they put it on the line. And you saw a lot of scoring, a lot of really great matches. It had an NCAA's type of feel, to be completely honest, when watching, whether you were watching on Flow or watching the finals on ESPN2. A very, very good atmosphere. I wish, obviously, that there was more fans for the final, but we obviously know that was because Oklahoma State wasn't in the final. However, those early rounds, watching in quad box or just watching one match, it felt like NCAAs. So shout out to everyone, including Flow, ESPN2, ESPN, Hardell, all the different commentary people, because honestly they did a very good job. So that is my way, and the feel of it from watching from home definitely felt like watching the NCAA tournament at the end of the year. Robbie, on to you.
Kind of on that note, shout out to my man Trent Hidley. He crushed it on the mic this weekend. Super impressed with him. We had a chance to see him on ACC Network and ESPN for Friday Night Duels for the last couple of years, or last year, I guess. And he's really good. He's such a professional at everything he does. Personally, I want to thank him because I wasn't able to watch one of the duels and I had to listen to some of it while I was driving my kids to and from shenanigans they had going on Saturday. So I just listened to the play-by-play, and it was solid. Like, you could hear everything that was going on, and it was nice to be able to have that, because so often we have, now we're lucky to have live streams, but there's no commentary sometimes, and having people who are really good at that was great. McDonough did a good job too. Just kind of overall great product this weekend from Flow. So, got to give them credit where credit's due. I mean, we shit on them a lot and when things go wrong. So shout out to them for getting it right.
Sure. Austin?
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot of national duels today. So I want to give shout outs to a few dual meets I saw that were really, really good wrestling. First was Pitt versus Princeton. Princeton had a good lead going in, I think, to like the final two matches. And then Pitt snuck away with a win. I think they won by a point or two with bonus point victories at the end. So go check that one out. Last Thursday, we saw actually Hofstra and Sacred Heart in the EIWA, and that was actually a really good back and forth match. Hofstra walked away that one. Again, just some good entertaining wrestling, back and forth. And then lastly, I have North Carolina and Navy. They wrestled this weekend as well, and it was also a really good match that was, again, kind of back and forth. And then it just turned out to be a really good match. UNC did win that one by, I think, 2 points. Again, just solid wrestling all around there. And if you missed some wrestling and you want to see something that wasn't national duels, go watch some of those matches that were I think really tight on paper, and watch it live as well.
Nice. Kevin?
Yeah, I wanted to shout out Mike Moyer and Chad Richardson. I think Chad was the guy, the Paycom guy who funded all of it and everything. So and without that guy, this does not happen. And it was the most fun I've had watching any wrestling event other than NCAA's in a long time. So absolutely shout out to that guy. How cool is it that he's rich and has rich in his name? You know what I mean? Like,
Was
You think his
named,
son's rich too?
yeah, just self-fulfilling prophecy for Chad. Chad Richson. No, anyway, so shout out to him. And then, yeah, I will also shout out, after all this excitement for the duels, Penn State did wrestle a duel, and they shut out Oklahoma. So, you know, they're pretty good still at duels.
Yeah, we could circle back to that one. It wasn't a full strength Oklahoma team, and that's a whole other conversation, I think. But it was good to have
That's
them on
not
the
Penn
map.
State's fault. Yeah, that's not Penn
It's
State's
not,
fault.
and I'm not blaming Penn State for that at all.
You're
But
blaming them, Robbie. Sounds like you're
I would say if you pay
pointing
as much as they did
fingers.
for transfers, you'd want them to wrestle. But maybe that's just me.
I would. Yeah.
State
Yeah,
haters.
we'll definitely circle back to Penn State, Oklahoma State, and Penn State in general, because obviously leading up to it, there was a lot of talk about Penn State not being there. So we can come back to that. But let's talk about the teams that were there. And it came down to a final between Ohio State and Iowa. And Ohio State showed up and said everybody home with red ass cheeks, because it was ugly when you faced Ohio State. They came out to wrestle every single match. The depth that they are able to play with at 125, that really showed up, with Dean Peterson getting pinned in the final against Buzakis. Like, just incredible, right? Just absolutely incredible. And just up and down the entire lineup, you saw how ready Ohio State was, even before they even made it to the final. I mean, they beat the hell out of Nebraska, right? And you saw 30-0 at one point, and it just was ugly. So Ohio State, and I mean, none of us picked anyone but Oklahoma State. We really thought that Oklahoma State was going to show up, and let's call it what it is. You didn't really know truly what Ohio State was bringing, right? You weren't sure who they were going to have at 125. And, obviously we did talk about Buzakis being down and how he competed earlier on in the season, or I should say earlier on in the past weeks, I guess I should say. But then we knew, Davino was legit, but still, you weren't sure where they were going to fall. And we certainly did not see them just beating the shit out of Nebraska the way that they did. Nebraska did not show up very, very well at all. But Robbie, I'm going to come to you. What were your thoughts on the wrestling at national duels, and what stuck out to you?
I mean, Ohio State has to be kind of the top story. The heater that they were on the entire weekend is insane. They lost 5 matches before the finals. That's bonkers, right? And we knew they have talent. We know they're a good team. I don't think Tom Ryan would have expected the performances that they got across the board. Seemed like every close match fell their way, and they just went out and did what they had to do and put on a hell of a performance. They certainly earned the check that they went home with. And from the sounds of it, they were pretty, and yeah, a couple of them, they're pretty invested in the takedown challenge as well, because they were really pushing for that on the first day. And I think they won two of the was it 4 rounds they did it, 5 rounds they did it. Virginia Tech won one of them. Ohio State won 2. I don't know who won the other 2, but you can look at that. But I mean, overall, it was super impressive. I think the 2 things that stood out to me were, one, freshman, true freshman, just having a fucking weekend for multiple teams, and then we saw some super mixed results from transfers, and that was one thing that kind of left me scratching my head. Like, we had some guys that we really expected some big things out of, and they left Tulsa with no wins, and then we had other guys that we expected big things out of with the paychecks they got to transfer, and they put on a show. So it's certainly a mixed bag there, but overall, I mean, fantastic tournament. It was made my wife mad how much wrestling I watched this weekend, but so it goes. That's not the only thing makes her mad, so I'm good. Interested to hear kind of from the media side how it was covering it, because it very much had like a feel like NCAAs. Like there's so much good wrestling going on that you can't actually watch all of it and follow all of it really well. So I'm interested to see how it was from that perspective.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, your thoughts?
Jesse Mendez is
He's a fucking monster.
wow.
Dude's a gangster.
Dude, he's won 2 national titles and he looks better. Like he just keeps getting better. And it's not like the weight class is not deep still, you know. He's just a freak.
He's like a Terminator. He just walks back to the center ready to murder every time. It's frightening.
It's wild. I think I heard, maybe it was Shane Sparks say this or somebody say this, but it was like watching Brent Metcalf again. Like just relentless, in your face, like just still attacking, still moving, still just punishing, you know.
But somehow Brock Hardy gives him fits. That's the crazy
Yeah.
thing.
It's the ears.
He's a funky dude,
Yeah,
but I mean, he's still getting it done, you know. Antrell Taylor losing twice this weekend. That's surprising. Like, and in ways where he's getting taken down, and you just really didn't see that a lot last year. So that was really shocking. I don't know. I don't want to speculate on anything, but maybe I don't know. It didn't look good. So I don't know if maybe he's just not getting taking that next step, or people are figuring him out, or what. But that was shocking. Sergio Vega, like what? Who the hell is that kid? What are they doing? What are you doing, kid? Calm down. I'm excited to watch. I mean, that whole. If you're Oklahoma State, you're leaving that probably not super happy, but man, is that team young and ready to go. I mean, this is kind of what Ohio State was 2-3 years ago. You know what I mean? With all those young guys in the lineup when Feldman and everybody was in there. Patty Gallagher was a true freshman in the lineup, and they were throwing him out there. Like now those guys are seasoned and prepared and ready to go, and that's why they won it all, you know? So
Carson Clarkson was only 26 instead of 42 like he is now.
Right. And Joey Volk. I had fun watching him wrestle from Minnesota. So
I did not have fun watching him wrestle Eddie Ventresca. His matches were infuriating. The second match with like the fucking 3 overturned calls like back to back. That's, I mean, in any match, the momentum that takes away from such a good match it's infuriating. Like
I would like to know
reviews,
if
and I think there's certainly a place for it, but god damn.
I want to know if Kevin is leaving his old Sergio for the new Sergio. I know Lemley isn't in any lineups, but I mean, you're mentioning Sergio Vega with a smile on your face. I'm trying to see if there's, you know,
maybe it's just the name. Maybe I'm just like
Sergio DeSantis didn't do much for you this weekend.
No, he didn't do. That's a good point. I forgot he existed.
2 out of 3 in though.
I think he did too.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just really impressed with everybody. I mean, this tournament was so good. I tweeted it, but like Cornell was, you know, close to upsetting Oklahoma State, and then they just go 0-2 as it turns out. You know what I mean? Like that's how deep this tournament was. You had some teams who wrestled really well and didn't get a win. You have some really great wrestlers. I mean, you know, I made a joke about DeSante, but like he's a pretty strong wrestler. And what, even 0-3?
You did not have a good weekend.
You can be really, really, really good and have had a really shitty weekend at this tournament because of how deep it is. 184, we had McAnally go down. We had Sinclair go down. We had just a lot of great wrestlers dropping matches. So, I don't know. I loved it.
Yeah, I want Austin to kind of chime in here on Cornell, where we all knew they were going to be hobbled. Right, they don't have their biggest guns, but they damn near upset Oklahoma State. What does that say about the depth of Cornell? I mean, I understand, yes, they didn't win any dual meets, but when they compete like that against the team that ended up taking third, and let's face it, the team that this was built around, right? Like the national duels was spawned out of Oklahoma State. It's in Tulsa. There's so many ties to Oklahoma, like all of it, right? They were the toast of the town. So when you see Cornell come out without their biggest guns and they wrestle the way they did, what does that say about Cornell's depth?
I mean, yeah, we kind of knew that they always had good depth coming in. So I wasn't shocked to see some of those results. I mean, we kind of knew they didn't have a chance against Oklahoma State, but they made it a little more interesting than what maybe we were thinking. Just with Ferreira beating Figs and then Hansen at 84 knocking off Ryder, who that's another thing we get into later. Like, who is Zach Ryder? He looked so damn good at this All-Star event, and then now he's barely scoring any points, a week or two later after that. So, Cornell, they looked really good. It's hard to compete with Oklahoma State when I think they had 4 or maybe 5 starters that are expected to be in the lineup in March, not competing for Cornell. So that's always going to be tough. But goes to show you how damn good Coach Gray and staff is up there. They had these guys ready. They kind of knew they were outmanned, outnumbered, outgunned, and they came ready to wrestle, and they wrestled pretty damn hard. So that's always fun to see out of Cornell.
Yeah. We alluded to this, or maybe didn't allude to it just yet, but we talked about it before coming on, and that was Iowa. And even though they made the final and they had a close win over Oklahoma State, they weren't offensively impressive. And I know most people are going to be like, well, Iowa's usually never offensively impressive, but against Ohio State, they didn't have, I don't think, any takedowns in those first 5 matches, right? So it wasn't until, the back half of things where things went into overtime that you started to see, I shouldn't even say some offense. You just saw them take shots.
Three overtime takedowns. Those are their first 3 takedowns.
And I'll give the caveat that Ferrari's match at 84 shouldn't have gone into overtime. They took away a takedown from him, but even his match was a 1 takedown match, regardless whether it ended in overtime or it ended in regulation. As good as he is, and as good as Caliendo is, as well as Patrick Kennedy, you're not seeing a lot of offense from these guys. And again, understood that the scouting report isn't that they're offensive dynamos and that they're going to take a whole bunch of shots and anything else. I mean, even Kennedy's win in the final over Karchla came off of a reattack. Karchla was the one that was attacking more. You look at Caliendo's match with D. Lockett. D. Lockett was taking the shots. He dictated the match. He didn't, and they even alluded to it during the match that Caliendo is normally the guy that is dictating things, and that D is a guy that wants to come from space, and wrestling Caliendo like that usually doesn't result in anything. And he withstood the hand fight. He took more shots. He may have frustrated Iowa a bit with taking the scenic route back to the center, or fixing his socks, or taking his time. But it seemed like they wanted the, I guess, cheap points, for lack of a better term, where they wanted the third caution that was honestly never there. Caliendo wanted the stall warning for him taking his time getting set, or we could just wrestle these matches, because it just showed that if it was a tactic from D. Lockett, that it worked. He was more worried about how long he was taking to get back or get set or anything else, and D. Lockett was just out there to score some points. I think it sucks whether you're D. Lockett or whether you're Angelo Ferrari wrestling from a knee and just completely closing things off and being as defensive as, I guess, Ferrari is normally. But let's see some offense, right? The hand fighting is great, but it doesn't score you any points, really. What did you guys make of the lack of offense from Iowa, or at least maybe the lack of offensive attacks, I should say? Not so much that they had a lack of offense as a whole, because they won these matches by takedowns. But Robbie, I know you had a good bit to say about how they didn't really take a lot of offensive risks, whether it was against Ohio State or anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at the numbers from their matches, I mean, you can count the number of matches where there were 2 takedowns by them on one hand. And to be a top tier team in our current climate and the way things are in the sport right now, you have to be more offensive and you have to take more risks. And they seem to be still more on that baseline of really strong defense is going to keep us in the match. And then a well-placed shot is going to do it. And that, I mean, it worked well for him this weekend for the most part. But when you see the other teams and the number of points that they're putting up, especially younger guys taking bigger risks and really trying to separate themselves, you wonder, how is that going to translate to March? Is it, you can only win so many 1-point matches in March, and you could push your luck for a while, but it's not going to work in the long term, or generally doesn't work in the long term. So interested to see what they look like throughout the season, if that pace picks up at all, or if they're still very reliant on defense.
Yeah. Especially, like I said, the Caliendo versus Lockett match was the one that was surprising to me, because Lockett really dictated where the match was going, whether he was going to wrestle it from space or have his ass to the outside circle or take his time, or, when he wanted to score, he was getting to the leg. He was the one that was forcing the issue on all of those different things. So that was really interesting to me, was just that Lockett was the one taking the risk, and Caliendo is usually the guy that is forcing the issue, and he really truly wasn't in that match, or even the match in the finals as well.
I feel like that's going to end up biting him in the ass, because when they are as good at defense as they are, and Caliendo's great at defense. Ferrari's very clearly, on a knee 85% of a match, and great positioning, and very good at evading any shot that comes his way. But when they get matched up with somebody who can, get past that, you're seeing them score in bunches, and they get super frustrated when their defense isn't working. And it doesn't seem like they're able to dig out of that if they get put in a situation where their defense isn't working. So I feel like you have to pick up the offense, even if just to be prepared for that situation.
Yeah. Kevin?
I don't know. On one hand, they made the finals, and so I don't disagree. Like, I think it sucks to watch hand fighting for 7 minutes over and over again. All right. So, like, now I know Iowa doesn't care about that. I don't think the Brands brothers are like, oh man, Claunchinator didn't like it, like, they don't care. But it doesn't change that, right? I think the other thing though is too, it's crazy, because I don't understand where the disconnect is, because I can't imagine Tom and Terry Brands are in there preaching like stinginess and defense and that sort of thing. Like, I know they don't often, like, in the last 15 20 years or whatever, like, it hasn't been always the highest point scoring teams, but you do get your Spencer Lees in there, you did get your Brent Metcalfs in there, you did get some exciting wrestlers coming through that program over the last couple of years. Real Woods, it's not like he was shutting down. You do see that they can score lots of points. And now I know that, again, wrestling Bellarmine is not always the same as wrestling, Oklahoma State or Ohio State for that matter. But in some of those matches, you did see some of that offense. So I don't know if it's a coaching piece or what it is. I don't understand it. I'm gonna wait to make any decisions. I do agree, like the Patrick Kennedy straight leg pushing forward sort of thing. Like, what is he trying to do there? It's the same thing he's done his whole career. He's just trying to wear the other guy out so that he can start hitting snaps and start snatching singles. Like, it's not fun to watch, but that's how he wrestles. It is what it is, But, like, I don't know. It was a really bad look against Ohio State. Ohio State clearly walked in there ready to go score points, ready to take chances, ready to put themselves in positions to either score or get scored on. But they were ready to fight for 7 minutes in those positions, where it looked like Iowa wasn't as ready to get in those positions, wasn't as ready to take chances. And as a result, they gave up the takedowns. They weren't actually ready to wrestle a match. They were ready to hand fight.
Yeah. Austin?
Yeah, I agree. I think we touched on it at this point in the season last year. Iowa looked really good. They looked really explosive. They looked really offensive. But, a year later, talking about now, they're not scoring a ton of points. It's a lot of low scoring. And look at the box score when they wrestled Illinois. They won 7 bouts, and 5 of them were close decisions. They only had 2 bonus point wins. So it kind of goes against the Iowa mantra of keep scoring points, 7 minutes hard. But again, like we keep talking, and it goes for Iowa, it goes for any team really. It's it's still the middle of November. Like, it's still early, right? So obviously things are going to change here. Hopefully Iowa does get more impressive offense. Hopefully they do score more as the season goes on. But for an event like this, I feel like you still want to go out there and score more points, because you score more points, you win, but I think that's common sense here. But it's tough to watch that and have them hand fight. And, you might get those calls at Carver Hawkeye, but a neutral location, you're not going to get some of these stalling calls and some of these caution things that you guys were talking about. So yeah, it's tough. I'm hopeful that they start, getting some more points on the board eventually and make things more exciting, especially when they do wrestle, Penn State coming up this year. And I think they wrestle Oklahoma State again coming up later in the year. And hopefully, some of those matches are a little bit closer, a little more hard fought on Iowa's end.
I just think if you're not putting yourself in position for there to be 3 or 4 takedowns in a match, then it's okay. Like, give up 1 or 2 of them for that matter. If you go get 2 of the other ones, then you're in a good spot. Maybe it goes to overtime. Maybe you got a riding time point out of it. Maybe part of the takedown, you got back points, right? Like, the risks are worth the rewards, especially with the way that the scoring is set up right now. You can afford to give up a takedown because you tried to make something happen, but you're learning something about that opponent as the match goes on. 7 minutes is a long time.
I'm not sure about you guys too. I did see someone tweet out about it. I forget who it was, but they mentioned Iowa's lack of ability to scramble too. And again, maybe it was just a few matches.
I do remember that. Yeah,
I think that was Brock Height.
Is that who it was? Okay, yeah. So from what I saw and where I was at, watching the event that day, I kind of agree with that. It's like they got in these 50-50 positions and they kind of gave up or just didn't score in a lot of them, which is frustrating because you're Iowa, you want to score points, and a lot of times you have to score in these different scenarios, play wrestling, scramble situations, whatever you want to do. And, you have to come out on top of those if you want to win these matches. And a lot of them, they just didn't. So I'm not so sure if it's something they're not working on the room or, if it was, nerves or, whatever it was this weekend. But yeah, they just did not seem like an Iowa team we were kind of expecting.
Yeah. And like you said, hat tip to them. They made the finals, they won the close matches, right? The 3 straight overtimes, the guy in the lineup that I was looking forward to seeing is obviously ending, right? You wanted to see how he was going to look up against very tough competition. Not to say he's never seen tough competition. He's made a world team before. I think it was the U23 team before. But folk style wise, everyone, it's all eyes on 197. And he was wrestling pretty stingy. And then he explodes through a double, picks up some back points as well as the takedown. But then he kind of shuts it down too, right? Like, I feel like he can really kind of push the envelope a little bit more as well. But I will say overall, I was very impressed with him. The only thing that I would say about him is that I wish he would fire off more shots because he is a powerful human being. And you saw when he gets into that double and, gets even just a small bite of the leg, he's running through you. But I do want to talk more about Ohio State because they won all of this, right? And they came in ready to wrestle. The depth, as I said, was on full display with, having Buzakis at 25 and kind of going throughout the tournament and not always, I believe, I want to look back right now. Yeah. And having Macron in there, him winning by decision against Nebraska, like they really were able to show up to depth. But the most impressive is Ben Davino. Like, impressive, just absolutely impressive. And obviously we had seen what he had done last year with his 5 dates and being in the lineup. And it was whatever Ben Davino was doing, it was enough to make Buzakis say, I'll go down to 125. Right. And now this redshirt freshman is in the lineup and he just mowed through Ayala. Like it was nothing. And was, as we said, taking more of the risk, taking more of the shots, and scoring when he was taking these shots. Right, comes out, little dump barrel roll, keeps the arm. Thought he was going to look to score some back points and didn't, but outscores him 3 takedowns to nothing. Right, like you're a returning NCAA finalist, 2-time NCAA finalist, and a redshirt freshman just took you to task. Right, so what did you guys make of Ohio State in what they did, specifically Davino? And was there anybody else in Ohio State's lineup that you were very impressed with? Austin, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think someone said that 125 through 157 did not lose a match all day, which
no matter who they had in there too.
Yeah, at this competition is insane. That's just a huge advantage. And then touching on that too, Brandon Cannon, beating the brakes off of Antrell Taylor. He majored someone else that was really good too. Who was that? Voinovich, Millard.
Did he wrestle Cannon Webster?
And Jared Hilly Techfold.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So yeah, he looked really good all week too. And just, seeing him come in to line up late last year, I still wasn't quite sure. I think it was around to 12 last year. So he had a great finish, obviously, but just seeing him come back and, doing what he did at 157, and kind of see why Sasso didn't wrestle last year, just because Cannon is, he's really good. You guys mentioned Mendez. He's really, really good. I don't see anyone beating him this year. And seeing Styles at Ohio State too was really good at 149, winning a lot of matches, pinning dudes, and yeah, just up and down lineup. Ohio State looked really, really good. Feldman got a big win over Ferrari there, which was awesome. Kind of gutted that one out. But again, it's still November. You'd like to see them, perform this well in March. Are they going to be able to keep it up for the next, what is that, four months? Probably not. They're probably going to have some dips, right? So this could all be for nothing because they look great in November, but when it comes to March, you're not really going to give a shit, right? But it is something to talk about. They looked really, really good and just shows their potential and how damn good they could be moving forward here at this point in the season. And, that match against Penn State, people think it might be exciting. It might be exciting. It could be a blowout. We have no freaking clue. Penn State is just that good, but the way Ohio State looked, they might take a few of those dual meets there.
Yeah. Kevin, your thoughts on Ohio State?
I want to watch Ben Davino and Jesse Mendez drill and go live. That seems like it'd be fun to watch.
Dangerous.
Yeah. It's like, you ever watch gorillas fight each other on YouTube or whatever? I feel like that's what it would look like. Nick
really
Feldman,
small gorillas.
Yeah, Nick Feldman had a good weekend. He wrestled really, really, really well. He looks healthy. He looks confident. He looks kind of pissed off.
More offensive than ever.
Yeah. So I'm very, very impressed with what I saw out of him. And then I wrote down Brandon Cannon too, because Brandon Cannon is fun to watch, man. He's aggressive. He's looking to score points. He's looking to cradle you up. Great weekend for him. Bouncing off a loss to a high school kid. Gotta go out there and beat up the college kids to make sure they know what's up.
That's for damn sure. Robbie, your thoughts?
I was super impressed with Fishback. He was a 2-time round of 12 guy at NC State, transferred this offseason, had a hell of a weekend. It was 3-2, but his 2 losses were both in sudden victory to Angelo Ferrari and Max McAnally. He got wins over Allred and Eddie Deatonbach. So 2 big wins, 2 really close losses to arguably the top 2 guys at the weight. Looked great all weekend. I mean, and can't say too many more good things about what we saw from Fishback. But just overall, and I don't know if it's where they were in their training cycle or what, or if they, took this tournament more seriously than other teams, which I don't think that's the case. But they were just fucking on one this weekend, and they were unstoppable.
Yeah. We had I believe it was 4 number 1 ranked guys go down and lose this weekend. So hell of a tournament for sure. I'm sure, we'll be seeing Ferrari at number 1 after his win over Aiden Sinclair, and then Sinclair beating McAnally. I think the only 2 number 1s that come to mind that did not take a loss were Jesse Mendez and that short king, Luke's Bird. So, and Bird looked phenomenal against Ayala. Not as good in against who was it, Campbell from Virginia.
Yeah, he's good though. He's going to be trouble.
Yeah, very very stingy match, but Bird was certainly ready for anything that Ayala was bringing. I'm glad that this time around there were some offensive points scored and there were takedowns scored. But man, just a phenomenal tournament. I can't wait for I mean, honestly, we're gonna, for our Thursday show, we're gonna talk about the things coming up next week or this coming weekend, and it's gonna feel horrible, kind of. Honestly, it's gonna be like, well, nothing compares to what we just watched. We already know that National Duels is going to be in November again next year. Chad Richardson said this during the final. They already have their date set. I'm guessing that after next year, they're going to be planning for sure. So maybe at some point they look at moving it to later on in the season or something, right? To get these other teams there. And that's the thing I want to kind of pivot to before we, talk about maybe some other guys in here. Is before the tournament, you had coaches talking about Penn State not being there, Tom Ryan being probably one of the more vocal, and people, going back at some of the things that he said. I don't really remember anyone clipping anything from Tom Brands or any other or Manning for that matter. I know Manning did say some things as well. Manning is always good for a soundbite, but I feel like people really went more at Tom Ryan. I almost said Tom Brands, at Tom Ryan than they did anyone else. And to me, it honestly did not make a difference that Penn State wasn't there. I know I asked Mike Moyer about how can we make sure that a Penn State is there and that our top teams are there, but that's just in essence of like wanting to have a true Division I national duels champion, right? And to, crown that sort of a team, you want the top 8 teams or top, however many teams it is to duke it out. Well, what did you guys make of the comments before the tournament? And were you guys any deterred at all about any of these comments and not wanting to watch because Penn State was there at all? Robbie, your thoughts?
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of Penn State fans who have been watching wrestling for 10 years who didn't watch the National Duel Tournament. But other than those guys, I don't think the viewership changed a whole lot with them being absent. Would it be good for them to be there? Yeah. I mean, if we want the top teams and we want that competition, we really want to see who's the best dual team, then clearly we need the top team there. But I don't think it took away from the tournament. I think it was a fantastic product. I think there was great duels every round. I think the top teams were certainly represented. I don't know. I don't think it could do anything but add to it to have them there. I don't foresee that happening anytime soon. I think Kale is going to do whatever the hell Kale wants to do. And until somebody knocks them off the top of the perch, they have all the leverage in the world. So if he doesn't want to go, they're not going to go.
Yeah. Kevin?
I'll be honest, I didn't listen to any of the comments. I just heard somebody was like, Tom Ryan was pissed about it and was talking some shit, and I think somebody else was too. But like,
a bad tanning session just led to a bad day.
Right. I honestly, I don't care. I think this is the first year. Would it be great for Penn State to be there? Absolutely. Do I think Penn State will go in the future? Yeah. I think this turned out to be a pretty great event. Unanimous approval rating on this, right? So does Penn State want to be involved in big events? They've said that they want to. Kale has said that in an interview within the last week. Now, I also liked his excuse as far as part of the reason they didn't go is because most of their lineup had just gotten back from wrestling in world championships.
That's a horseshit excuse, though, because they were selected. It is they didn't know that beforehand. I mean, they could have thought that we're going to have a lot of people on the world team, but that these teams were selected last year before the world team process even happened. So yes, it worked out that way, but is that the reason? No. It's a convenient reasoning, but that's not
Fair.
why they did this.
They did just get, like, there was a lot of them on those teams, right? So
Yeah.
if you're kind of planning on going to challenge to go to those events and you kind of, forecasting maybe what's going on. Now, I don't know. It's neither here nor there at the end of the day. I do anticipate that they will go in the future. I think, again, you see kind of the reaction to the entire wrestling community on this. And you know who's not going to stop talking shit? Like, everyone about Penn State not being here. And so they're going to show up and they're going to wrestle hard. And I don't think they're going to lose a duel this year to any of these teams. And so I'm sure that's it's not the same thing, but it's like, if you want to give Penn State a chip on their shoulder, like, that sounds like a dangerous fucking team to run into. You know what I mean? Like, those guys all still think they're the best team in the country, and I'm sure they're going to show up to these duels ready to prove it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, are you picking Ohio State to beat Penn State in a duel right now?
No.
WrestleStat has the 18-15 for what it's worth. I mean, I don't agree with that. I don't think that's how it would shake out. But they have Buzakis over Lilladal, Davino over Blaze, Mendez over Nagao.
Davino Blaze is definitely a toss up to me right now.
Cannon over Duke.
But I would still lean towards Blaze over Davino.
Yeah.
Even though I do think it could go either way, I'm still, more on the side of Blaze winning that than anything. I don't think that's how that's going to go.
I would do Davino
in
that one.
I think you walk away from this weekend feeling more confident that it's going to be a more competitive duel, but I still think anybody who's not leaning towards Penn State in that is not being very genuine.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is we've been excited that Ohio State Penn State would be a competitive duel for years, and it never really was. Like there were some times where you were close, but then there were others where it was just like I can remember it was at Ohio State, and I think it was Bo Nickel's senior year, and they just mowed them down, and everybody was like, this is going to be a good duel, whatever, and they just beat the hell out of them. So obviously Bo Nickel isn't strapping on another Penn State singlet, but Penn State still very, very good. However, Ohio State's run at national duels, I don't take anything away from them at all because Penn State wasn't there. And anybody that is, you're an asshole.
Right. No, yeah.
Just stop doing it.
They won the tournament. They get the money. They showed up to do it. That's kind of what this needs. If you're Penn State, you have to show up to get the championship. If you don't, then someone else gets it. Before I forget, how about Levi Haynes getting knocked the fuck out and then waking up and pinning dude from Oklahoma?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like sequential like that, but
let's not.
I mean, I fully expected to. When I saw that clip, I was like, oh, let's see what the rest of the duel looked like, and fully expected for there to not be a 0 on the side of the board of OU. But I was like, oh, they let him finish the match. Like
they did.
He was not in there. He was not there. Nope.
He wasn't completely out, but he definitely was.
Bell was wrong.
Yeah.
A little reckless, but
a little bit. But I don't know. It is what it is. Again, like I said, I know there was a lot of shit talk about Penn State not being there, and everybody was up in arms about it. And it's like, guys, if you were really that worried about Penn State not being there, why weren't you worried about it before this even happened? Right? Obviously, there was more talk about it because of the presser and because they did all these things, and the coaches are quoting, giving these high velocity quotes and shit, and it's just like, great, awesome. Now let's go out and wrestle in this tournament and have all the fans be really excited about it. And I think we were. So from what it looked like an NCAA atmosphere, NCAA tournament type atmosphere. The competition was certainly on that level. If anything, it makes you more excited for when we do get to NCAAs with all of the finals rematches that we saw from a year ago, or potential finals that we can see this year, or just potential big time matches that we can see in the quarters, semis, and finals of NCAAs. So just all around, it was honestly great. What other takeaways do you guys have from national duels before we move on to some of the other news that has been coming out? Robbie, I'm sure there's some takeaways you have from the ACC side of things.
Yeah, I mean, NC State didn't have the best weekend. Had a good opening round, and then stumbled a little bit. Certainly not their best performance. Lost to Virginia Tech to get booted from the tournament. Wasn't a big fan of seeing an ACC rivalry duel there, but that's what happens in bracketed tournaments. I kind of like in the last few years the ACC tournament or dual season has always come down to that duel. So I like having the build up, the anticipation of not knowing how that duel is going to look. But at least for all intents and purposes, those lineups are going to be very different come February. So I think we'll still see a very good duel. Then Truska had a great weekend, knocked off Vince Robinson again. He's 3-0 against him. All three matches have been 4-1 wins, two of them in sudden victory. Always super close, super tight. Both of those guys are stupidly fast and great on reattacks. It's going to be an awesome rivalry for the next couple of years. Sonny Sasso had a fucking phenomenal weekend. He looked great.
Got me a lot of
Noah
points in
Nininger,
fantasy.
yeah, he did. Noah Nininger looked good. Matty Singleton had a great weekend for NC State. Let's see, who else am I missing? Vince beat Spratley in the finals rematch. That was nice. So a lot of good things ACC wise. Tech kind of made a nice run on the backside there.
The one guy that you maybe didn't mention is what's his name, Will Denny.
Yeah, Will Denny's going to be problems, and I said that last week. I mean, he's got a shitload of potential, and he was right in a lot of those matches. Opened up with a big win over was it Ryder Block?
Mm-hmm.
No,
No,
UNI guy.
not yeah.
Ryder Downey.
Yeah, Ryder Downey. There we go.
Ryder Downey. Yep.
And had a good, super competitive all weekend. He's young, he's talented. He's gonna be really good. But overall, I mean, Trumbull didn't wrestle, so would have liked to have seen that, but he'll be in hopefully shortly.
Yeah. Austin, I know we talked Cornell. Lehigh was also in the mix, missing some guys. Any thought on how they showed up?
Yeah, I mean, they were 1-2. They beat Arizona State, and then they lost to Nebraska pretty handily, and then had a decently close one with Illinois. Sheldon Seymour was 3-0, pretty much the bright spot of that lineup. Brzezinski had that big win over Antrell Taylor. He won by major. Then he went out and won 2-1 over McLean of Arizona State, and they dropped a match against Cannon Webster of Illinois. So pretty good weekend overall. Big win, but you would not be nice to see him finish 3-0 on the weekend, especially after that big win. A lot of guys showed up too. Brignola actually had a really good week, 2-1. He had wins over Ruiz of Arizona State, and then a win over Braden Scholes of Illinois, and he only dropped his match to Nebraska's Arujo. Tight match, kind of got high flyer there, which is disappointing because Max, you're in the Lehigh Valley, you get hit with a Lehigh Valley move. A little disappointing there, but Arujo set it up pretty nice though, so just fun to see. But yeah, Lehigh obviously not the best lineup that they'll have this year. Start coming here in the next few weeks, in the next month or two, they'll start being full steam ahead, and second half of the season will look a lot better for Lehigh for sure.
Yeah. Kevin.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out a handful of people, Sonny Sasso being one of them. Caleb Larkin, dude.
Yeah.
That guy just seems like he's in like perfect control of the match at every point and position. Like he just looks so comfortable. He does a really good job with that kind of like inside step, kind of like drop to an ankle pick where you catch their foot with your leg. Like he hit that a couple different times. He just looked completely in control every time he was wrestling. So shout out to him. Brock Mantanona up at 184, taking out Silas Allred. That was a big win for him. And then I was also going to shout out my other Wolverine, Dylan Gilcher, going 3-0 on the day, getting some really nice wins for him when he beat Nico Ruiz. And he beat someone else. Oh, Max Mayfield. So yeah, I mean those are big wins for a guy bumping up 2 weights. You're kind of trying to figure out what you're going to see out of him. He was a 4-time state champ, Detroit Catholic Central. So you're like, he's clearly like an incredibly talented kid. But is he going to be able to put it together in college wrestling? And that was a nice weekend for him to be able to do that. So shout out to those guys for sure. But yeah, Caleb Larkin, I was super, super impressed with.
Yeah, overall, a lot of impressive performances. I think we touched on the good, the bad, the ugly of national duels. Definitely looking forward to next year.
2 more really, really quick ACC shout-outs.
Mm-hmm.
Coy Bisgins had a great weekend, kind of controversial match against Oklahoma State, but he's just a fighter, and he's going to be problems this year. And then hit on Dylan Campbell earlier, talking about Lucas Bird. That's his only loss this year. He's 8-1. His only loss is to Lucas Bird, which, not a bad loss to have. So he's going to be a lot of problems, especially with his lankiness and his very different kind of body style at 133. So keep an eye on him.
Yeah. That Swiderski Bisgins match was very weird. The fact that
the whole time was, yeah,
it really was like the illegal move. Like, guys, they hit heads.
Oh, that was dumb. That was really stupid.
Like it happens. They hit
the
heads.
only way I can kind of see how they called it. I don't agree with it, but like, because he led with his head and his arms were like all the way back, he didn't bring his arms until he made contact. That's the only way I can kind of wrap my head around the call. But I mean, it's incidental. It happens every time Jordan Burroughs wrestles. That's why his face is always busted open.
Yeah,
you're kind of coached
it is what it
to
is.
do that at some point. Like
that's how I coach it. Put your head through their body. That's what you do.
Marshawn Lynch said it the best. Sometimes you got to run through a motherfucker face.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Sometimes you have
to. Got, I think, 6 or 7 stitches from it. So
yeah, but that was definitely a weird match as well.
Who was the Cornell dude whose face kept bleeding for like every one of his matches was like 35 minutes because they'd have to keep undoing the tape and then retape his head?
Their upper was that Hansen? Yeah.
Yeah.
The one that had the upset.
The one that beat Ryder.
Yeah. Just blood everywhere. It was great. Good for him. He definitely needed a shout out.
Again, a lot of blood. The faces certainly look like a weekend after NCAA's. Lots of beat up guys this weekend.
Yeah, I was looking
to see for November.
They did a close up of Ferrari in the Ohio State match when there was like a stoppage at some point, and I was like, can he even see? Like, his eyes are damn near swollen shut right now. Like
you get punched in the face a lot when you just stand on your knee the whole time.
I mean, when your head is that low, you're gonna take a bunch of shots to the face and
hands and knees.
Yeah, like he looked pretty beat up, and then even in the interview afterwards, like, he looked pretty busted up. Like, man, that is bad news. So yeah, lots of black eyes, lots of swollen faces and cuts and bruises, and it really, if anything, these guys are prepared for the rest of the season. Yeah. And that was a true NCAA's atmosphere.
Didn't seem to have too many like major injuries, so that's good. I'm glad we didn't have major season long consequences from this. So that's great.
Very true. Yeah, overall, very satisfied with what we saw at NCAA's at National Duels. Looking forward to next year. Obviously, I think they already said it's November 14th next year. So who knows? Maybe we will see some different teams in here. I'm honestly hopeful that they don't do the random draw thing again. I understand why they did it, but I hope that they just get rid of that. Just go down the line, invite the teams. Yeah, have the seating, not just the top 4. Give us seating and everything else, and just go from there, right? Send out the invites. If you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. seed it the way that it needs to be seeded, and go. Like, because the random draw of Arizona State, I'm sorry, but they didn't really. One of these things is not like the other, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
I love those
I
guys,
think,
but it is what it is.
do you think the teams that place this year should get an automatic invite next year, or should
Yes.
it be based on NCAA finish?
I think you go to your placers first.
That was kind of my thought. Have those 8 guaranteed and then backfill from there with based on NCAA placement, based on dual finish for the conference, and kind of what lineups are going to look like next year.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
At some point, returning All Americans or returning like something has to matter.
Yeah.
You know, like Arizona State again, more power to them, but they lost a lot of people.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is that the same thing will happen to Illinois next year, right? They won't
yeah,
have Lucas Bird. This is his last year, so they won't have these
Spencer
guys.
Moore.
They'll
Yeah.
still
So,
have Braden Scholes and they'll still have Cannon Webster. They'll still have a good team, but right, they would need to place in a certain level in order to get that invite.
yeah, they lose kind
Same
of
with
that
Little Rock.
star
Like
power.
they lost a lot of their star power to transferring, and that's same with Arizona State. And that's hard to account for because I mean realistically you have to have that these teams committed earlier than the summer transfer window.
Yeah, but
So you're not
wasn't Little
necessarily
Rock
going to
one of
look at
the
it.
people that got drawn in, or did they get the invite?
I think
They got the invite, I thought, because of
Did
how
they?
well they did. They had
yeah, I think
Bailey,
so.
they had
They
Jordan
they must
Williams,
have.
they had
Yeah.
Little, they had,
Yeah.
How funny was it though? There was so many different times where like teams would be there and then like the old wrestlers were wrestling for another team. You know what I mean? Like Wyoming was there and Jory Volk was wearing a Minnesota singlet and Jordan Williams and Nasir Bailey there waving over to Neil Harrisman, like
Fishback.
yeah, Fishback, another guy. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah, very weird. I saw like a bunch of tweets of like, when the hell did Spencer Moore transfer? What, when did Fishback leave? Like all of these different tweets, people
See,
not
nobody's pay
realizing.
attention to the ACC, sons of
Well,
bitches.
right, but there's just a bunch of people that I was just like, yeah, you guys definitely gotta pay attention to these things because they happen pretty quickly. But yeah, it was pretty weird. I mean, right, you look up and down Oklahoma State's lineup, you've got Swiderski, Facundo, Ryder, like all of these guys in the lineup that were in different singlets or different rooms a season ago, and now they're all wearing orange. It looks kind of funny. It really did look kind of funny to look around those mats and have that quad box going, and you're like, well, shit, that guy wasn't there last year. This is at one point I'm pretty sure every single mat probably had at least one transfer on it at some point, all at the same time, right? So like very weird to see all the different guys in different singlets and competing, but I think for next year, I think you're right, Robbie. You do have to look at the teams that placed, give them the invite, and then look at the NCAA finishes as well and tie that into it to complete your 16 teams or whatever it is. But overall, very good time watching and paying attention to this, and you're glued to it. You really were glued to it. So again, hat tip, shout out to all the different people that were involved. But let's move on to some other news.
So before we jump onto that really quick,
Okay, what's up?
on the topic of seeing transfers wrestling and other singlets, I think it looks even more weird when you have a lineup that has 8 transfers and only 2 of them wrestle against their top out of conference duel. I don't know what the hell was going on with Oklahoma's lineup, but they didn't have the vast majority of their starters. Some news has come out that Keller may be done for the season, but otherwise, I haven't heard any reason why they didn't send most of their starters to the East Coast. So I guess that's frustrating to me when you have an opportunity like that to face a really top tier team and you don't wrestle your team. So if anybody knows why they weren't there, I'd love to hear it. But you get an opportunity like that, you need to put your lineup out.
Yeah, that was one of the only other duels going on this weekend. I mean, it was obviously Penn State's first one of the year and didn't really get much of a test. And I'm pretty sure that was probably put together so that they would have that. And it just didn't come to fruition. So it's what it is. But let's get to the Jax Forrest news. Willie and Bosch talked about this on their show. At least Willie, out with it. It's gonna happen, and by it's gonna happen, he's gonna be wrestling second semester at Oklahoma State. I don't know what to make of it, honestly. I want to hear from you guys. I don't really know what to make of it, and I'll give my take on it afterwards. But Kevin, what are your thoughts on Jax Forrest being available second semester to Oklahoma State?
If the kid wants to do it and they want him there, like, I don't know. It seems to me like you only get so many chances to wrestle in college. It'd be cool to like have the full experience and just kind of be patient and finish out high school, whatever. But if that's really what they want to do, I guess go for it. It's weird though to me too, because they've already got like really, they've got what, Figueroa 33, who obviously didn't have a great weekend, but like probably still has something left.
I don't know if we'll see him anymore.
Yeah. And who's the other guy that got up 33? Why am I blanking on it?
Ramirez.
Ramirez.
Ramirez had a good weekend.
Yeah, he did have a good weekend. So,
I have Gary Steen. I didn't even know he was still wrestling.
Interesting. Well, now that changes everything. So, I don't know. If the kid wants to do it and they want him to do it, like, I don't know. It doesn't bother me too bad. I don't understand the logistics behind it. It's not my job or place to understand it. I don't really care about that piece of it. But if it all checks out and it's legit and he wants to jump in early, I can't imagine he's getting a whole lot out of wrestling in high school anymore, so get it done, I guess. But I don't know how dramatically it changes the landscape at 133. I think it's still an incredibly deep. Like, do you guys think that he comes in and is just all of a sudden like a national title contender?
I mean, he's certainly in the All-American mix. I don't know if I'd say
I think he's in All-American
national
mix.
title contender.
Yeah, probably an All-American mix, but I don't know. It's going to be an interesting thing to see what happens. But I don't know. I just, part of it's just like, I don't want to rush this thing. I think they've got a good young team right now. Kind of let them come in and see what they're going to do. Just bring the kid in like you normally would. If he wants to move down there, whatever he wants to do to like be a part of it and train with the RTC or whatever, like, sure. But I don't know. I just feel like rushing the experience doesn't need to happen, but that's my feelings.
Yeah. Austin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Claunch. I'm not sure what the reasoning is. They have Ramirez, who's a freshman who looked really, really good, lost to Ayala, 2-time NCAA runner-up in overtime. So you have a really solid option there.
And Gary Steen.
Well, yeah, he's a PA state champ, right? At least once or twice, but doesn't always translate to college.
Another transfer as well.
That's true. Yeah, I mean, it must be a personal decision on Forrest and his family, would be my assumption. And David Taylor is saying, if you want to do it, do it. I just don't see the need for that. They have great freshmen that we saw, and 4 of them that are legit All-American contenders. And, we always talk about Oklahoma State might be the team to knock off Penn State. That's not going to happen this year, right? So what's the rush of getting Jax Forrest in there this year? Get him in there, let him train at the RTC, build him up that way, and then next year as a true freshman, boom, then maybe he comes in. But there's obviously a plan there with David Taylor and that team, and maybe Forrest is part of that sooner than what we thought, and it could be good, could not be good, but I'd be curious to see it. It's definitely interesting, and just makes that weight class that much deeper, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Ooh, does this mean that Bo Bartlett's going to want to wrestle second semester too, and he's going to make this happen?
Bassett, I don't think Bo Bartlett can.
Bo Bassett. Yeah. He just seems to want to do all the things that Jax gets to do. So I think he's going to want to do this.
Who knows?
He even made a rule about it.
Yeah, maybe. Robbie, your thoughts on it?
It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you look at the recruiting classes that Dave is bringing in, and the youth in the lineup right now. The only person that's a senior in their lineup is Connor Doucette. So you have that entire lineup coming back next year and it's going to be bolstered by a strong recruiting class. So why not start fresh next year and have a team that's could legitimately challenge Penn State? And that would be my same thought on Bassett. Like, I mean, Caleb Henson redshirted this year, so he would still had a year of eligibility with Bassett to make the lineup stronger for a run next year. I mean, that to me makes more sense when you're bringing in the type of recruits that are coming in, and when you have guys that are this good. Yes, they're ready to go. Yes, they're old enough with the reclassing and all that. But at this point, I don't see any benefit to taking a half year and not getting a full season out of it, and kind of rushing the process to get there for effectively what conference and the conference dual season and NCAAs. Like, I'd rather see him wrestle a full season and get the full 4 years of good full competition.
Dave Sakamoto too. Can't forget about him.
Yeah.
True freshman.
Yeah, who's Kennedy going to make signs for? Sakamoto's not starting.
I'm torn about it because I think it would be really cool, mostly because, like I've said plenty of times before, is if you pay attention to other sports, this is nothing new. There are a ton of football players that reclassify to leave high school and start playing college football sooner, right? And go ahead.
Think about it like basketball, though, because that's the comparison here. Is a sport that's splitting the season. You're not seeing basketball players graduate early and come back for the second half of the basketball season. They may come in for spring ball like football guys, and that makes a lot of sense because they're getting a full semester of practice and getting, understanding the game plan and learning the playbook and the system. But it doesn't make sense for a sport that splits a season, because you're losing half of your season.
Well, we don't really split the season, though. If you truly think about it, we don't really, as much as we should split the season, we don't. We do because we're part of it, and we're like, okay, this is where we turn the page. It's after the new year. This is where things are, conference duels, this, that, whatever. So like the schedule allows us to kind of split the season. But
I just mean that it splits between semesters. Like it's
I know exactly what you mean. I'm just saying, like, us as like wrestling people split the season. Everyone else is like, you have a full wrestling season to go from October, November to March, right? And that's what everybody on the outside essentially sees. So like, as much as we split the season, it's not really much of a split. But I think you're right about it's probably better, more of a basketball analogy. My original thought was that seeing different guys do this for football, but then also seeing in that same football lens of when you graduate high school and there's say your team is going to a bowl game, you're allowed to join the team for prep and be a part of practice and everything else for football. So like, I just feel like there are so many guys that somewhat rush processes in other sports that when we see somebody doing something different, a la Bo Bassett with his recruiting and Jax Forrest with the potential of this happening, which I know I've talked to multiple people and they say it's happening. Not to say that Willie is false or wrong or anything else, but like, one statement gets backed up from people that that are reliable sources on things. You're like, well, shit, I guess it truly is happening. So I think it's just different. As much as I think that it would be great for him to have a full season and everything else, this makes for an incredible storyline. And it makes for people to attach a new thing in wrestling when you're watching on ESPN or when you're doing marketing for NIL or anything else, right? And storylines is what we need for people to be like, oh, he left high school early to compete on the next level. I mean, shit, he's already wrestling grown men. And he just made our senior world team, right? Like, we've already seen him do all of these things. So what's really the difference now is that he's reclassifying, but if you think about it, all the people that are already saying that Jax Forrest and Bo Bassett are old, he's joining the class he should probably be in, to be completely honest. So like, let's throw out these, he's already that age, and he was held back this many times or whatever else. Like, he's done everything that he wants to do in high school. And as much as he said before he wanted to enjoy his last year of high school and all this and all that, sometimes you look at the opportunity, and the opportunity is there for you to make a huge impact and go after some of the things that you wanted to go after a little bit sooner. So I see him taking advantage of an opportunity. I don't see that there's anything truly terrible about it, but I can understand being like, why rush it? Right. And from our standpoint of people that have probably rushed a number of things in our lives, being, that our ages now start with 3, and being like, shit, don't rush that, Kevin?
Yeah, it's really easy to make the argument why he should. He's literally just like beat up all of the people under 23 years old on the planet, right? That were trying to wrestle his weight class. So like maybe high school, he's a little past that. It's super simple to make that argument. I don't know. Good for him. If he wants to do it, go for it, man. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but yeah, I don't know. It seems rushed, but to each his own.
It does seem rushed. It does, but
I love the band Rush, by the way. Fantastic band.
Tom Sawyer.
Now I think the argument for him to jump into the lineup is that they see the potential that they have with all of these guys in the lineup right now. But I'll tell you this, if they compete the way that they did at National Duels when he gets in the lineup, it won't be as good as we think it is. Because Swiderski has one win, I think? Yeah, one win on the season right now. He looked phenomenal at the All-Star. One win. Right. Zach Ryder, same thing. I don't think it's one win, but he looked incredible.
His 2 wins,
at the All-Star.
2 and 3.
Yeah, incredible at the All-Star. Has not looked good outside of that. Losing in sudden victory to Silas Allred. And nothing against Allred, but Nebraska did not look good at all this entire weekend. So
Ryder hasn't gotten a takedown all season.
Well, there's that too.
Maybe one. Sorry, one. He got one against Abe Wojciechowicz.
Yeah. So I think when you look at their lineup, you're like, is he going to create a spark and make these guys wrestle better? I don't see that. They, like I said, D Lockett is their spark right now. True freshman just beat the number 2 ranked guy in the country and looked very good doing it. I agree that it is rushed. However, it's a cool storyline. Give me a cool storyline. And again, he's been wrestling against grown men for so incredibly long. So I don't know. I think he can, and I think he can be an All-American this year. There's a number of people that think he can win this year. I don't know if he can win this year. I don't even think he beats Blaze, to be completely honest. So yeah, I don't see the reason behind it. I feel like he's probably in that Kyle Snyder mode of I've done everything I needed to do in high school and I've won all of these different things and now it's time for greener pastures or whatever, but finish high school. Not say he's not going to finish high school, but like finish that off, get that all done before just like jumping into the college ranks. But I don't know. Any other thoughts from the weekend? I know we talked about, Austin highlighted some other duels and things. Any other notes, Austin, that you wanted to add about the Pitt Princeton duel or was it the Navy duel as well against UNC?
No, actually, I didn't go back and watch the entire duels of those. I just saw clips and highlights and results, but I know they were good back and forth wrestling. So you need to take a break from, national duels talk or anything else, go back and watch those. Those were really good. Just to get your head on, and there are a few ranked matchups there here and there, but overall, just like I said, good back and forth and good wrestling overall.
Yeah, Princeton had the lead until the last match, and Pitzer got the win to give Pitt the win.
It was great. 10 with 2 bouts left, and then
Pitt
tapped him
got
in the end. Yeah.
Power the mustache.
Oh.
There you go. Yeah. So overall, great wrestling over the weekend. Was definitely surprised that Penn State still shut out OU based off of the clip that I had seen of Levi Haynes getting knocked out. But
let's remember the head injuries are serious.
Yeah,
it's concerning.
Very right. But hey, I don't know if he passed concussion protocol, which I don't know how. And he did, is what it is.
I'm not a doctor.
I'm not a doctor, but that doesn't look safe. So I'll say that. Claunch, any other thoughts, any other shout outs, anything else that was on your radar? Maybe a little bit of action, anything else like that you want to shout out or give some thoughts to?
Yeah, shout out to, I think it was Maryland, Citadel, Gardner Webb. I'm probably missing out on a couple other teams here. But Air Force wrestling on the Yorktown or something.
Yorktown.
Yeah. So shout out to them. That was it.
TK Davis got a big upset over Braxton Brown.
Oh, he beat him? Nice. Let's go. I should know that. I'm wearing my Gardner Webb hat. No, that's a big win. USS Yorktown this weekend. So yeah, that was it. Shout out to those guys.
It was good to see that. I mean, it's an awesome idea for an event. And last year it was kind of a catastrophe with the mats getting slippery and wet. And from everything I hear, it went really, really smoothly this year. So I'm glad they were able to get it off without a hitch. Had good women's wrestling there. Iowa brought their team down, so they had some bigger name programs on the women's side too. So I'm glad that event went as well as it did this year.
Before we go, how'd your fantasy teams do this week? I actually notched my first win. I have Austin. Claunch. I have Austin coming up next week, so prepare for some shit talk, Austin. Probably be no shit talk. Claunch, how did you do this week? I know you're paying very close attention.
He beat me.
Did I? Oh, yeah. Good.
That seems first like loss of the year for me. 81-65.
Am I like undefeated?
You got carried. No, you're 2-1.
At least we're scoring some points now.
Looks like you got carried by Brandon Cannon, scored 17 for you. Joey Blaze scored 14. Cannon Webster scored 18. So Bo Matanoda got me 0. I'm not too happy with the Matanodas right now. Cyrus Allred got me 0. Not acceptable. Need to get it together.
Well, that's because he lost to Brock Matanoda. You just had the wrong one.
Damn it. Mendez got me 18 though, so that's good.
He did. Yeah, Sonny Sasso got me 18, and then Short King got me 22. So
Sonny Sasso had a hell of a weekend. I'm glad to see he kind of it clicked for him because he's going to be he's got so much potential. So I'm glad to see him attacking and making things happen. Now, if we just get him to get rid of the frosted tips, we'd be all set.
Keep him.
Went back just like the 90s.
Listen, with a weekend like that, he can, shave his weight into the back of his head like old school.
Oh yeah, we give him some 42-inch inseam Jenkos and then some Heelys. That'd be cool too.
Yeah, I mean, let's do it. Let's give him the Boz haircut.
Ooh,
that'd be good.
That'd be good.
Do that one. So no other tidbits or anything to talk about from last week. But let's turn the page. No, normally we do this. This is normally our Thursday show, but there's a little bit less. As I said, coming off of national duels, it's a little tough to, come off that high a little bit. But let's touch on a couple of duels that will be happening this week as well as next week. And then we'll come back around to our recap next Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So Claunch, what duels are you looking out for to close out this week's show?
Well, I'm going to be calling the Michigan versus Virginia one on Sunday, so I'm very much looking forward to that. That actually should have some pretty great matchups in there. 125 with Kevion Roller and Diego Sotelo. That should be a fun one right off the bat. But yeah, that's going to be a fun duel. Oklahoma and Indiana is Sunday. And Oklahoma, I mean, we talked about them earlier. They're ranked higher. They should have, with all the transfers and everything, theoretically a better team. I think Indiana beats them outright. Like, I think that, and maybe it's not fair because we just watched Oklahoma wrestle so poorly against probably the best team in the country. But I don't know, man. I think Indiana is going to be ready to go. And then I also wanted to shout out, I guess technically this is Tuesday of next week, but South Dakota State and Minnesota. I always like that one. I mean, geographically they're nearby. Damian Hahn obviously wrestled at Minnesota, two-time champ there, and obviously coaching South Dakota State now. So a lot of pride goes into that duel for sure on both sides. So excited to see that one. And then the smart kids are going to wrestle each other on Tuesday as well with Princeton and Northwestern.
Nerds. Battle of the nerds.
They're actually just going to play Magic cards the whole time. See who wins.
A Dungeons and Dragons tournament beforehand.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. Robbie, what's happening in your neck of the woods?
So a couple other matches to look at in that UVA Michigan duel. Nick Hamilton, Matt Nono will be a good one. And then Winton Denkins has been really good so far for UVA, and he'll have Lachlan McNeil, who's kind of been up and down. So that could be a sneaky good match as well. So keep an eye on that one. Pitt and Iowa are squaring off. Not a lot of great matchups there. Maxed Out and Dene will be one to watch. There'll be two very different styles. Mac's been putting up some crazy numbers this year with takedowns, and we saw some good things from Mendene this weekend, but he certainly doesn't have the same offensive output that we normally see from Maxed Out. So we'll see if Maxed Out and the mustache power can continue and get a big win there. Pitzer coming off a big win to win the Princeton duel. I'm not sure what Iowa's going to do at heavyweight. If Keeter's going to be ready to go, that could be a good match. But Pitzer's been up and down this year too. He's had a couple tough losses and he had a couple really good wins. So I'd like to see him getting back on the winning track. And then the only other thing I have circled is there's a North Carolina event. North Carolina Davidson and Greensboro are having looks like a try. I think that was a try, not a quad. Yeah, that's just no, it is a quad because UMC Pinbrook's there too. So they're doing a all levels of North Carolina schools coming together in Chapel Hill, having duels there. So that'll be a fun one to keep an eye on too.
Nice. Austin, anything EIWA wise that you're paying attention to?
This weekend mostly is the Keystone Classic set for Sunday at Penn, hosted by the Pennsylvania RTC. Teams this year will be Central Michigan, Drexel, Edinburgh, F&M, Harvard, Lock Haven, Michigan State, Oregon State, Penn, Rutgers, and Virginia Tech. So some good teams there. I do not expect the Virginia Tech A team to be there, especially after wrestling this tough weekend here and kind of coming into Thanksgiving break. But I would imagine Rutgers starters will be there as will Oregon State, just assuming that. So some good wrestling there. Dual meet wise, I will be on the call for Penn versus Hofstra and all Penn matches moving forward this year. It was funny. Kevin McGuigan was giving out a free T-shirt to whoever could guess the color commentator, and everyone was saying Jordan Burroughs. Sorry, disappointed.
They're gonna be sorely disappointed there.
This stupid old me. So tune in ESPN Plus. I believe it's noon or 1 o'clock on Saturday for that. I should probably confirm that, but I think it's 1 o'clock Saturday.
Minor detail.
Yeah, minor details. I'll
just watch. Actually. Damn it, you got Austin.
Yeah, just set reminders. It'll be fine. And then,
Turn on the
it's-
channel now and don't leave until you see Austin's face.
There'll probably be some volleyball on.
Yeah,
Maybe
we'll
we'll-
wait for the
Yes.
volleyball to finish up. And then a week from today, the 29th, would be Tuesday of next week, I believe. I'm sorry, the 25th. Where am I at? The 25th.
25th.
Bucknell and Wisconsin, which should be actually pretty good. We saw Bucknell.
Yeah, that will be a good duel.
Yeah, Bucknell had a close loss to Virginia Tech last week, this past week, and they had a close loss to Oklahoma as well. So yeah, they're kind of one of those teams that's right there against these big teams. Not quite getting the job done. Here's an opportunity for them, but Wisconsin has looked pretty good this year so far. So should be a good one for them.
Nice.
And we have the looming Cyhawk on the 30th, but we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
Yeah. Oklahoma State, they have a duel on the 21st. They have Air Force, where I'm sure they will present Wyatt Hendrickson with his Hodge Trophy, probably again.
For the 14th time.
For the 14th time. And then they also have Arizona State then on the 23rd. Interested to see how they look coming off of those. Obviously, these aren't the most high-powered opponents for them with Air Force and Arizona State. And honestly, they should be some confidence builders for guys that aren't feeling the best, right? Swiderski, Ryder, guys like that probably aren't looking the best. We'll see if we see Richie Figs again. I don't know if he will be in the lineup again. I feel like he's having a real rough go of it right now, where he's got to get back into the right headspace, and maybe it's just different. I mean, it's obviously different in the Oklahoma State room, right? It's kind of shark infested waters. You're only bringing in the best of the best. It's very different than being at Arizona State. Just is what it is, where he was the guy, for so long. So got to get back mentally or physically or whatever it is, but something's out of sync. So we'll see if we see him in the lineup against either one of these teams, either Air Force or Arizona State, or if they continue to use other guys for Oklahoma State. But this weekend is going to be obviously not as many fireworks as the past weekend was. So figured we'd roll our preview right into it of some of the dual meets that we are looking at this weekend, as well as the tournaments with Keystone Classic. Penn State is most likely supposed to be at the Black Knight invite. I know last year at Austin, I think you said they sent, ones and twos, and it looked like basically a Penn State wrestle off. So most likely, if that's the case, we'll probably see that again this coming weekend too. So if you're looking for if you're looking for some Penn State action, that's where you got to go this weekend to see probably ones, twos, and threes. If you ask me, honestly, I think there's as of right now, WrestleStat has like seven teams in there, something like that. Wrestling, at least in that tournament. Hopefully there'll be more by the time that comes around, but yeah, not a ton of competition, especially for the number one team in the country, but that's where they will be this coming week. And another one of those smart guy dual meets of Princeton and Northwestern with that in there too. So we'll see kind of how all these things pan out, and then we'll come back with a recap as we always do. We'll give you a preview in a separate episode. I think we're going to go Tuesday, Wednesday of next week to account for a lot of turkey eating that we'll be doing. So make sure you guys tune in both Tuesday and Wednesday before the action starts. And we'll have some matchups and some breakdowns and stuff for you on Wednesday. Tuesday, we'll do our normal recap. Or maybe we just roll it all into one. Who knows? But Tuesday and Wednesday is what we're looking at right now as we're recording this on Monday night. So make sure you guys tune in. We appreciate all of the comments, the likes, the shares, telling us we suck, trying to debate us on anything, saying how much you like the show, all of it. As I said, make sure you're always tuning in for our craziness and our jokes, as well as using those discount codes for Poseidon Strength and Quad Pod, and Quad Pod on Poseidon, and then QP25 on Adidas. And that's all we got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed our stupidity and our curse words, some that aren't as bad as the ones that were used last week, but appreciate it. And see you guys again next Tuesday. Peace.